Hello and welcome everyone on the Information Technology and Service Management PCB webinars. My name is Vlera Arshala, the PCB organizer of this webinar, and today's topic is Business Recovery with Smart Strategies. This webinar will be presented by Mr. Barbro Thoyra. Mr. Thoyra is owner of CeBeLOT and BCMS consultant and trainer. Also, she's a PCB Certified Trainer. If you have a question or comment during the webinar, please, you may write your questions and comments in the question box in the right-hand control panel, or you may use the option to raise your hand, and in the end of presentation, Mr. Barbro will answer to them accordingly. Please, Mr. Barbro, you may start the presentation.
Thank you, Vlera. My name is Barbro Thoyra, and as you can see there, I'm a woman, owner of CeBeLOT, and so on, what Vlera already said, so we can omit that. And the content of the webinar is on the next slide, and the duration is 30 minutes. And as Vlera said, you can write down your questions here to the right. So the content of this webinar is what you need to know to protect your business, and how to select and implement recovery strategies, and how to merge them into your recovery plan. I had another webinar last autumn, and that was focused on IT, and this is focused on the whole business. Have you imagined what could happen to your business in case of a disaster? And this is a disaster from Turkey in 1999. I was actually there to making a business continuity plan when this happened. And it was easier to have the customer to understand the situation after that. The facts are there are just 10% of the business will survive if they don't have a BCP plan. And the volume of calls will be 3-4 times more after a disaster if the telecommunication is working, of course. Business continuity strategy, according to PECB, is to select strategies that can assist you in the actions you have to make after a disaster when recovering your business. And to select the most suitable recovery solutions for critical business functions and supporting resources. And the strategy needs to address the findings from the BIA and the risk assessment. And that is, you have done the BIA and the risk assessment before selecting recovery strategies. And the strategies, they will form the basis of the business continuity plan. And here is something from Business Dictionary, the definition of recovery. This is a methodology chosen by an organization to restore its critical resources and systems to their normal status following a disaster. And this is more or less focused on IT, of course, when they say it generally includes resorting to manual operations, suspending data processing to repair on-site systems, and arrange a service provider for temporary data processing facilities, and backing up essential data at an off-site facility. But instead of data, it could be processes or systems as well. What are the cornerstones in your business? You have to give it a thought. It is, of course, three major: it's products, customers, staff, and of course also the locals where you run your business. And another consideration is to think about if your business is not working, how will it affect the owners of the business, the personnel, the staff, the customers, and the suppliers. You have to take into account all these stakeholders to your business. BCMS, IMOTS, Business Continuity Management System, it should be. I apologize for that. We have done the business plan, of course, and then the disaster occurs. There will be emergency response. And the management is making a decision to activate the plans, and then the recovery takes place. So today's topic is about recover critical business operation. And you have done the BIA and risk assessment. And also what you need to do is to list all the critical activities and resources for a business. And this is just examples. And for every resource activity, you need to make the recovery time objective. For instance, 0 hours, that means that it must be up and running all the time. You don't have any time to recover. More than 48 hours means that you have more than 2 days to recover. So you need to RTOs as well for every critical activity resource. And in the risk assessment, you have been looking at the direct risks to your business. But you should also take into account the indirect risks to your business. Maybe some supplier will have a disaster, and that is supplies that you need to manufacture your products. There is actually from real life, but I'm not going to tell you because I'm been employee of Ericsson. Okay, but there are indirect risks to your business as well. And then you have to look into if you can mitigate the threats and the risks. And you look into the risks that are not acceptable. And you have to look into the single point of failures. If you have just one computer and everything runs on that computer, then that computer is a single point of failure. That is a very easy example. And the main threats to the organization's most urgent activities. And this can be done by cost-benefit analysis to see if the cost, if it is worth the cost to implement that measure. The most common measures are, of course, that you have a backup regime for data and documentation, and the data and documentation should be stored off-site, not at the same building as your business. And then you have UPSs and battery backups, that is very common, and that you have IT security, also very common measures. Examples of specific threat reduction techniques. Physical security, you can have ID cards to come in and so on. Information security, of course, monitoring systems, outside, inside, to see what's going on. Sprinkler and fire suppression systems, that is also very common to have something, but you need to know how to use them if you need them. And then resilient telecommunication networks. And if nothing, then at least you can do this for recovery strategies. Be systematic in planning. Do not try to predict the nature and planning for floods, storms, fires. Look instead at the generic parts of a disaster at any time. And these generic parts, they are loss of information, either data or documents or manuals or whatever, loss of service, loss of products, loss of access to information or local. The building is down, you can't go in. Loss of staff, employees. And if you do this and you put these in columns, information, services, products, access to locals, staff, and then you have the most critical processes, procedures here, one per line. And so invoicing, you can see what is affecting. If invoicing is down, how can you have invoicing? Well, you can have an agreement with a third-party service supplier. Salary, well, you could have manual payout if you know how to do it. Telecom, you can have standby equipment. You can have an agreement with another telecom supplier. Building, you can have another building. Email, have a backup program. Supplies, agreement with the supplier, with a second supplier. So this is very simple to start with. Anyway. And recovery strategies that can use without doing a huge amount of work is look into manual procedures if you can have any workaround. If there is any staff that knows how to use pen and paper, because everything is nowadays in computers. You can reduce service response, not give the customer the full service. You can reduce them to 90%, maybe 80%, or take away customers that are not using the service very frequently. There is many ways to do the reduction. You can also have service levels that you have either service levels against customers and that you lower the service level, or you can have service levels with suppliers, service level agreements. They have to help you when you need. Or you can withdraw a service or a product, and that is very often used if there is a service or a product that is in the life cycle, at the end of the life cycle, and not so many customers asking for that service or that product. That might be more cost effective to take it away instead of trying to recover it. And then you can have staff working from home. If the local is completely down, staff might be working at home, but you have to look into the security about that. Others are internal backup facilities. One example could be if the IT locals are damaged somehow. You might install the systems, for instance, in a conference room or somewhere else that is not used all the day long. Most common is one of the conference rooms. Diversification, you can split the service on several sites. One site is down, the other is working. If you have product lines, for instance, in several factories, maybe you can increase the product manufacturing in the factory that is up and running. Replication means very often in computer IT that you have two computers that are clustered to each other, not in the same room though, not in the same building either. Standby means that you have something, a local that is standby. It's more or less a cold site. And then you have post-incident acquisition. That means that when something happens, you are going to buy that equipment from a supplier. But maybe the equipment is not available by the supplier. And to be sure to have the equipment available at the supplier, you can have an agreement with the supplier that they should have backup equipment if you need it. Do nothing. Most of the companies don't do nothing. And you can also have subcontracting. You have contracts with the suppliers or another factory or another business that makes more or less the same thing as you do. And there's a lot of recovery strategies that you can look into. Another is training education, that you train the staff and educate them in how the systems are working, how the manufacturing is done, everything that if some of the staff is not available, another can do the same work. There should always be at least two persons that know how to do the processes and procedures. Otherwise, if you have just one person, that person will be a single point of failure. And you could also have reciprocal agreements. That means that you have an agreement with another supplier of the same products and services as you. And you help each other if one of you are in difficulties. That is not so popular though, because you have to be very open with what you are doing and so on. And safe separation distance. If you have several locals, you can have them in distance at least 3 Swedish miles. And then you have third-party service vendor. That means that you have a service provider somewhere, third party. You can use cloud. That can be used with IT, of course. You can rely on insurance, but that is a risky business because insurance, they tend to not be that quick with taking decisions and giving you the money. You can also look upon the civil emergency responders, the police, the ambulance, and so on, that is in your country. And then we have this hot site, warm site, mobile site. There are sites that you need to equip, either fully equipped or just empty shelves. And when you have done that, then of course top management has to make a decision what strategies to use. And you need to identify the RTOs for each service level. That means that you're not going from 0 service to 100% service. Maybe to 50%, and then you predict the RTO for that. And then you can do the gap analysis if necessary. What does it mean if you go to 50% of full capacity instead of 100? The gap in between. And then identify suitable strategies to achieve RTOs, of course. And then you have to put the cost to every strategies and how effective they are. And then write it down and present it to top management, all the options and recommendations. And then when the top management makes the decision, you need to identify implementation projects. And the implementation means that you have to document all the processes, and the following information should be included: functional description and overview of the features of the process. Not in detail in this stage. And then, of course, all the dependencies of the people, the resources, the systems, and there might be interdependencies between the processes. This process must be up and running before the next can start, and so on. And then you have to point out the recovery teams, the primary person, the secondary person, the team leaders, and so on. And all the information that they need. And also the RTOs, the recovery times, and the method to be used. And also you can put it down step by step, all the recovery procedures. I will give you some example. This first example is second by second, in a flow, first step, second step, and so on. And this is from real life, though. This is a computer that is broken, and they have to order another computer. But they need to wait to check with the coordinator if it is okay to start after the disaster is declared by the management. And the coordinator is the business continuity coordinator that you have to have a okay from. And here is another way of doing it, and this is also from real life. It's very not so in detail. And this is network, computer network. And it depends on how skilled the persons are, because this is either it is redundant and it starts by itself, and then it's 0 hours, more or less. Maybe some seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. But if it's not started automatically, then you need to do them manually, and then it takes 4 hours. So it can operate normally after 4 hours. Either more or less immediately and or after 4 hours. Yep. And then all these descriptions will go into the business continuity plan. And there is more, of course, you need to put into the plan. But one is when must the business function recover? Where to go to recover? Do you have another site, or do you do it in the conference room? And then these detailed procedures and how it is done. And what is needed to recover, and who will execute the actions. And then this recovery plan is just one part of the whole plan. And there are, you can do it more or less in detail. Depends on the business and what you want to do. So I often divide them into several plans, so that you can take the recovery plan when you do the recovery, or you take the response plan when you do the response to a disaster. And then comes the next part, and it's testing, training, and maintenance. You have to test and exercise the plan. If you don't do it, you don't have any. And you have to make all staff aware that there is a plan and train them. And then you have to have the plan up to date. And the more of this work you do, the better is your ability to recover. Okay. There are some standards. BCI from London has Business Continuity Institute has a standard. PRI has a standard, and PECB is very much on the ISO standard. And I think the ISO is the future. Business continuity planning is about the crisis, not the interruptions. If you forget your password, who cares? Except yourself, of course. But the crisis is crisis, and then you need to recover. And this is a business organization, and this is your normal organization. Well, this is in Swedish, but there is your normal procedure work. Then something happens, you have to respond, and you have to recover to different levels. And sometimes in the future you are back in full production again. Hopefully. And this is from Malibu in California, 2007. That's my name. Thank you very much to listen. It was a very hard start, but now we're at the end. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thoyra. It was a really great presentation. And now I think it's time for question and ask. We have 2 questions. The first one is I'm going to read, and after that you will answer, okay?
Okay.
The first one is what is the difference in plan management and emergency plan management, and what is this emergency plan used for, and when?
Emergency plan is used when there is an emergency, of course. That's why it's called emergency plan. And emergency plan is when something happens. It might not be full-scale disaster, but there is an emergency. Something happens that you can't repair within. That is up to the customer, but within 1 hour or 2 hours, then you have to take the emergency plan into activate the emergency plan and the emergency organization. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And the second one is BCP testing is a sore point. And how can we reduce the expenses implementing test plan?
Oh, I didn't get it.
I think the question is how can we reduce the expenses for implementing the test plan?
How you can reduce expenses? Well, you can reduce. That was what I was talking about. Not take the sites, not the most expensive recovery strategies. You might look into if you can do a workaround. You can have staff working at home. All these strategies that I was talking about. Instead of spending a lot of money to have a hot site fully equipped with everything.
Okay. Thank you.
Do nothing costs is no cost, but if something happens, it will be very, very expensive.
Yes, yes, it's very understandable. Thank you very much, Mr. Thoyra, for this great presentation. I think was very informative, and all of us had the chance to learn a lot of things new. On the other hand, I want to thank all the attendees for joining us in this webinar, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar. And also you can check PCB webinar schedule in our website www.pcb.com. In the end, I just want to remind to join us in the next Monday webinar. We are hosting another webinar titled Key Sources Factors for your BCM program. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.